The economic freedom fighters will descend on the Free State farming town of Senekal tomorrow ahead of the court appearance of two suspects charged with the murder of farm manager Brendan Horner. Now, the case has been marred by public violence. Angry farmers and members of the local community stormed the court at their first appearance. The incident led to the arrest of local businessman Andre Pina. Now, the Senekal protests have widely polarized views from all quarters of society, and now political parties are also getting involved. One of these is EFF leader, that's Julius Malema, who joins me in studio now. Mr. Malema, thank you very much for making the time to speak to us. I see you're observing social distancing whilst at the same time making sure that you're protected from the coronavirus. It's kind of you to join us here in studio. Let me start off this conversation by asking that we acknowledge the life of a fellow South African that has been lost in a brutal manner, and that is that of farm manager Brendan Horner in Senekal. Your message of support to the Horner family?
Well, we send a message of support and condolences to all victims of murder in South Africa, including the farm manager. There is nothing in our law called farm murder. Murder is criminality and should be attended to as such.
The case back in I think it was April 2017, it was that of Matlomula Mosweu. And I'm bringing this case up deliberately because of similar scenes that are taking place now that took place then. There was lots of anger at that time. You'll remember Matlomula Mosweu,
yes,
16 years old, killed in a brutal manner by two farm managers who threw him off a moving car. At that time, your party was calling for nothing else but a life sentence because of a life of a South African that had been lost. What's your party's position in as far as this particular murder is concerned?
That's a criminal. A criminal must rot in jail once found guilty. We have no interest of people who go around killing innocent people, particularly civilians who are trying to make an honest living. So we really are not going to Senegal to sympathize with a thug. We are going to Senegal to protect our democracy, our constitution, which is under threat by racist, terrorist farmers who go and attack a court of law, storm a court of law and police station and chase police around. That's a declaration of war against the state. And if the current regime can't defend the state, we have a responsibility as peace-loving South Africans to defend our state against hooliganism, against terrorism.
You know, the Senekal case versus the Xoli case, that's where
Xoli, yes,
Matlomula Mosweu,
yes,
Mosweu was killed. And I mentioned to you earlier that there are similarities that are quite striking. You're saying right now that democracy in Senekal is under threat because of violence and police being threatened. If you remember correctly, in Xoli, police were pelted with stones. Why? Because the black community in Xoli was angry at the police, saying that they are being allowed, and I want to quote directly one of the reports there. The people there were saying, quote, white men are walking around with guns shooting people, and police are doing nothing about it. The striking similarity here is that police in Senekal are accused of the exact same thing. Why is it a threat against democracy now versus a threat of democracy? Was it not a threat of democracy in Xoli?
I don't know where you arrive at the conclusion that there was a similarity, where there is a stone and there is a gun. Two shots made from a gun by white men threatening police. There is no similarity because once you discharge a firearm against law enforcement, and law enforcement goes for cover, then the state is under threat. Stones can never put the state under threat. That's what makes a June 16, 1976 generation special. That it confronted well-armed men with live ammunition, with stones. Because we know that the stones may not have that impact, but stones represent the picket lines. And that's why you will see stones in Kolini. That's why you will see stones in Polokwane. Tsepomatroa was murdered by, white people, and all of that. So there is a difference between terrorism and picket lines. And therefore, there will not be striking similarities. Picket lines are what they are. Discharging that, even when we're angry at police ourselves, including black communities everywhere else, we have never discharged a firearm on them. Even when we're angry at police and angry at courts that gives rapist bails, that gives murderers bails, we've never stormed the court. Why?
But we have burnt police cars.
Yeah, we did, but how do you storm a court? A court, an independent judiciary that is supposed to be a neutral arbiter, which all of us must have confidence in. You cannot do that to the courts. So, because once you threaten the court, which is the last recourse for any dispute, then let's kiss this democracy goodbye. Because in the absence of the court, there will not be anyone suitable enough to protect this constitution.
I've pointed to you that there is an incident where, in fact, a leader of the Fees Must Fall, that's Khanya Xoli, he was convicted for burning a police vehicle. That was a threat against the state. Andre Pienaar is in custody today, and he's applying for bail as I speak to you. And he's in custody because of what he did. He is accused of doing the exact same thing, public violence. There is, though, one particular case that becomes even more dangerous. And I wonder what your party's reaction was at that time. If you remember, there was friction between members of the IFP and the breakaway NFP, and it was at a court. And one person was shot and killed. I can't remember the EFF making too much noise about that, because that's a threat against democracy.
There is no similarity. The similarity is, give me a case where the court is threatened. When two factions are fighting,
why does it have to be a court? The people that shot each other, they were inside court premises.
The judiciary, as an independent arm of the state, cannot be put under threat with guns directed at judiciary. Once you do that, you are threatening the constitution. People fight in court. People beat each other in court. It is two individuals or factions confronting one another. It's a heated space. We understand that. But you cannot discharge a firearm in the corridors of judiciary and threaten directly the judiciary and say to the judiciary, bring this person to us. We want to finish off this person. And when the judiciary says he must go back to the cells, you follow him to the cells against the wishes of the judiciary. There is no striking similarities. Even the back office here at NewzRoom can keep on feeding you here online all types of similarities. They will never arrive at anything that resembles what we're confronted with now. Let me also deal with Pienaar. We're not going to Senegal for Pienaar. We have nothing else to do with Pienaar. We're going to Senegal against those who discharge firearms, against the police and the judiciary, and the state does nothing about it. We want to show the state that your inability to intervene decisively when it is white people, it is exactly what led us to where we are now.
So, let me ask you the question then. If the police are afraid, these are people who are empowered by law to carry firearms, And if their lives are threatened, well, the police minister right now, we remember him back at the time that he was the commissioner. He said, you've got to fight fire with fire if your life is threatened.
Yes.
They, the people, by law, who are given that permission
Absolutely.
to have firearms. How are you going to deal with people who are armed as a political party?
No, we are going to defend the court and the police station
How?
and the police with our own bodies. With our own bodies will be there. If there's going to be any killing by anyone who wants to kill us for defending the courts and the police, let it happen.
You're not going to retaliate?
We'll not retaliate. You think we're going to give them roses? Anyone we shoot back.
So are you going there armed?
No, we're going there peacefully.
Yeah, but how are you going to defend yourself should someone come to any of your members carrying a firearm?
But do you want me to reveal my defense strategy here so that the enemy agent can even prepare for that a defense strategy? It can't be. All I'm saying to you is that we're peacefully going there. We have not called for anyone to shoot at anyone. We're going to defend our buildings. We're going to defend our police who have proven beyond any reasonable doubt that they can't defend themselves even when they are protected by the law to shoot back. They couldn't. Xoli, go and look at a video where they are entering the passage. And then there is a shot fired. They don't know it's fired from where. One of them says, if they shoot you, shoot back. He gives that instruction.
The police minister had a meeting with you. He told us just a few days
Absolutely.
ago. What was the content of that meeting?
Well, we spoke about Senegal and that we are going there. He wanted to know what are the issues. I told him that you are scared of white people. There's too much white arrogance here. You have allowed it because your president was bored by white people. And not only now, from when he was young. He was adopted by a London family which handed him over to the Minel family. Where do you think Cyril gets accent from? Because he has never gone to a white school. He went to black schools in Shawela, later on in Venda, then he went to Teflo. He's got an accent because he grew up in a white family. So they bought him from when he was young. The white arrogance is not only in the farms. All the BEE deals that were signed 10 years ago, all white people are reversing them because they tell BEE people we don't need them. Why? They've got a big BEE partner in the presidency that protects them. How dare does your president go and launch a project in Moitluf, which is not BEE compliant? Why should these people comply with BEE? So I was saying to the minister, your president, who is adopted by a white family, has allowed these people to develop this arrogance. And we're not going to allow him or you, through your actions, to make white people to be arrogant and want to subject black people to humiliation. Because once you humiliate police, you're humiliating a black state, and indirectly you're humiliating black people. And that pain we suffered during apartheid is resurrected, and we go through it again.
I want to pick up on the dangers that have been warned or highlighted by some of our leaders in the country. That includes the police minister. But I would like for you to take a listen to someone whom I think you, at one point in your life, said you had the greatest respect for. And this is him appealing that let there not be any more petrol poured into what is clearly an unstable community at this time. Let's have a listen to former President Malema Motlanthe.
Remember, most farmers are former soldiers. So they will have some, because they come from a background of military collapse, you see. So they would have had a stint or other at one point in their lives of receiving military training, and they can be armed.
So it could escalate in a manner that is, as the president described, reminds him of a very painful past.
It can lead to a civil war. It can lead to a civil war. Their rights ought to be protected as well. Their safety ought to be guaranteed as well. So that they don't resort to doing that themselves, because once they resort to doing that themselves, that places them outside of the framework of the law.
That's the former president, Malema Motlanthe, who says that if there's any more friction in that town of Senekal, it could spark civil war. Are you going to listen to him?
So be it. We're in this mess because of people like him who allowed whites to undermine us like that. You think we can listen to people like him? You think we can listen to Mbeki, to Zuma, to Mandela? We'll never allow that. This nonsense must come to an end at some point. These whites should know that we are not stepchildren in this country. This is our country. We too belong here. And if going to Senegal will cause a civil war, if a man exercises his constitutional rights, that will lead to a civil war, so be it. I'm not talking here from the comfort of my couch in the NewzRoom Africa offices. I will be in Senegal myself. I will be leading from the front. Do what you want to do. What soldiers? Why should we be scared of retired soldiers when we're not scared of them when they were soldiers? When they legitimately carried guns to kill black people, we confronted them with stones.
Mr. Malema.
Let history repeat itself. Let us confront the same people our parents confronted.
Yeah.
If that is going to be the case, let it be.
Mr.
We're
Malema.
not going to live in fear here because we think white farmers are former generals. They can go to hell. Murderers, generals.
Mr. Malema, I put it to you that as a responsible leader, you are the third biggest party in this country. Your utterances right now, you sound like a person who is spoiling for war, not the protection of democracy that you claim to go and do there. Is that what you essentially want?
What is war? When a person says, I'm going to Senegal to defend a building with my body, I've never told you of AK-47. I've never told you of
you are also saying...
You are talking war.
But you are saying...
When I defend myself against white racists and terrorists, if you are scared of them, it's none of my business, Chief.
But you
Go
are saying...
alone.
But you are saying...
of being scared of white people. I'm standing up to them. Yeah. I'm standing up to whiteness. I'm standing to white arrogance. I will never allow it to play itself out in South Africa when I'm a leader of a third political party. The EFF's presence in this democracy is to put racists at their own place. And we're going to do that knowing very well that we're going to be called names because of racist apologists, apartheid apologists, and beneficiaries of racism. So we are not part of that nonsense.
I want to revisit what you said earlier.
Yeah. And show me the war where I'm talking about the war. That's exactly the element. War.
That's exactly the element I want to deal with. You're saying you're not going there to fight, but you're going to defend this democracy with your bodies. And then I asked you, so if someone confronts you with a gun, what are you going to do? And then you said,
I'll drop you.
And then you said,
with a gun, I'll drop you.
Are not going to reveal your defense strategy. What is that defense strategy?
Is self-defense, allowed by the constitution of this country. Is that what
so it's easy to conclude. That you're going to Senegal armed?
No, when a black man is going to engage in self-defense, you don't know, what if I've got a black belt? Mawashi Geri. How do you know? Self-defense is not a gun. I'm going to defend myself. And you will see there that I can defend myself and it is allowed by the Constitution. I'm not Malema. I'm not going to speak like this ANC cowards who are actually beneficiaries of this racism and white arrogance and who have allowed it. They should have dealt with this thing long time ago. They have not dealt with it. Till today, Xoli, the people who stormed the courts, the people who banned the vehicles, their faces are all over. Only a person who suffers from bipolar is arrested there.
Can I ask you about what came out of a meeting between Police Minister Xoli and the State Security Minister Ayanda Ndlodlo?
I never had a meeting with them.
No. I'm saying that they had a meeting with the farmers.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. They were given a list of complaints by the community there. And high on that list is the issue of the theft of their livestock. Included in there are allegations that they are making that there are also police officers whose names were given to the police minister. Shouldn't that be the target of our collective anger? A corrupt police service that is working with thieves who are stealing livestock, who are stealing essentially our food security in this country. The farmers were quoted this week as saying per month, because of livestock theft, they are losing in excess of 1.2 million rand. That is a threat to food security, is it not?
No. Once they apologize for those reckless actions they took that day in Senegal, there will not be anything that brings us together. There's nothing that we can collectively and jointly ask for with those white racists. That's what happened after 1994. They've never offered an apology. All you did was exactly what you are doing, following nicely well in the footsteps of your grandfathers in the ANC. Let's go beyond and build a country with reconciliation. Reconcile with people who never said sorry. Reconcile with people who never apologized for their reckless actions and killing of black people. If we allow that nonsense to happen there, it will go all over. You know what these whites do every day? They wake up and block N1. When the taxi people tried to do it, the soldiers shot them because the taxi people were black. They wake up and block N14. Nothing happens to them. No permit, no nothing. This Malema once said to me, when we were marching to Pretoria, he called me to his office and said to me, Julius, you cannot march on the M1 because the M1 is the road that connects everything. So once you block N1, you've got a potential of blocking an ambulance in Varambad, which has got nothing to do with your march here. Why has Malema not offered the same advice to the white racists who are blocking N1 every time they wake up in the morning? Last from Paris, Klipdrift and Coke.
Kebima Patso did the same just last week. He blocked a highway.
It doesn't have numbers that one. How can you block a highway with a creche? Kebima Patso has got no people, has got no numbers. There are very few MK people. Those drunkards that are following Kebima Patso everywhere have got nothing to do or the same capacity as these farmers who are always blocking N1 here in Gauteng. I've never seen any police action against them.
Mr. Malema, I want us to talk about corruption in the police.
No, exactly. You know that point, I agree with you.
I'm making a case to you.
Any policeman
yes,
who's involved in the stealing of stock theft or any other form of crime must be arrested. I mean, we must be very proud that a general has been arrested in the police now. That should send a strong message to the corrupt police. But Xoli, because earlier on you said we must not divert, a similar case is in Newcastle, where white farmers steal black people's cattle. Because when the cattle go grazing in their farms, they arrest those cattle and they never release them. When they report them to Newcastle police station, black police officers say, we cannot arrest a white man, you know that. When they run over kids, as they do their racist things in that town, and the black people go and open a case, the police say we cannot go and arrest a white man, you know that. I'm not making this up. Peggy Taylor was told. The same way you are saying Peggy Taylor was told about white people losing cattle in Senegal. He was told of black people losing cattle in Newcastle, where he was told he's scared of white people. Till to date, there's no action against white farmers identified in Newcastle who stole the cattle of black people. I must come here and speak nicely in defense of white people who say they lose cattle when we are losing cattle every day, and we don't lose cattle only, we also lose life, and they never get arrested.
So it's clear then that we have an issue of police officers who are either incapacitated, are not trained, or are simply not willing to do what they are employed to do, and that is in part to protect civilians in this country. Wouldn't you agree?
How can this protect civilians when they can't protect themselves? There's no capacity at all. The government is in the hands of incapable people who are obsessed with self and have got nothing to do with the people of South Africa. I mean, they can fight amongst themselves and say all types of things against each other. None of them has said anything against that thing there. None of them have, in an angry manner, tweeted the way they are doing when they are threatened by their colleagues that they must be removed from ministerial positions. They never tweet the same way against white people, but they tweet against each other like that. They never tweet against terrorists that are there in Senegal. None of them will tweet or even be in Senegal against the display of racism. But talk about removing them from ministerial positions, you won't sleep that day. Because they are obsessed with self.
Very briefly, I want you to tell me what you think should be the rural safety strategy that will be effective for government to protect the farming communities in South Africa. I'm not talking about protecting white farmers or black farmers. The strategy that will protect everyone in the farming community.
There's no need for that at all. There isn't. The people who must be protected in South Africa, who the war has been declared against, is women and children. Is the rape victims, not the farm people. My man, let's go and check. 1 year, 21,000, more than 21,000 murder cases were reported. You know how many were in the farms? Not the farmers, in the farms. 97. Not even more than 100. And you want to say to me, this is a national phenomenon? It is not. It is an isolated incident. One is too many, I agree. Let's deal with murder decisively. If you want to talk special attention, if you want to talk special teams brought together, special courts, special prosecutors, special police, focusing on special issue, that issue should be rape, that issue should be murder of women and children and the elderly gogos. Those are the people who are the victims of the current crimes in South Africa, not farmers. I'm saying to you 97. So if we're to go to the farmers, it's actually going to be way less than that. You want us to create a special unit for them because they are white? It will never happen. Maybe the ANC government will do it. When the EFF comes in, it's going to destroy that type of a unit and refocus that channel where it is needed the most. There is scientifically, there is no any form of evidence that farmers are being finished in South Africa. It's not true.
And I think the president agrees with you in that instance, and he wrote as such in his weekly letter. But I will talk to you.
I don't want to agree with that guy.
I will talk to you after this short breather about special courts and special units that perhaps ought to be created for fighting corruption in this country, which is another massive issue.
Absolutely.
Right. That's conversation in a moment. You're watching Newsfeed, the AM edition. Mr. Malema, I want us to take a different path now and talk about corruption. This morning, we waking up, and at least one of us is not waking up in his comfortable bed. That's Angelo Akriti, waking up in police cells. Police, or should I say law enforcement, working meticulously, discovering that he's been taking money offshore along with massive assets. What's your comment as far as that issue is concerned as a party that is vocal against corruption in this country?
Well, they should have known that when they gave him the first bail. They gave him bail knowing very well that it's not now. So they're taking the money out of the country. It's not now. Him and Watson have been taking the money offshore. That information should have been known before he was granted the first bail. You know why they are denying him bail? It's because they have been engaged in some Hollywood arrangement arresting black people. And then they go around looking at the law fruit from amongst white communities to create an impression that we are also arresting white people. But that thing should have been in jail long time ago. That guy should not have received bail. And that is the type you should not even engage in any other dealings with as the state to say, no, if you give us so and so, will not prosecute you or anything of that sort. We must arrest him and we must send him to jail. I don't care about Agrizi. Agrizi is a small fish. I want real people. Why is Mantashe not arrested? After accepting that they installed cameras at his house and did a fence. Why is Thabo Makwetla not arrested? After they did everything else, and then he only tells us now that he's awaiting invoice. When you owe people and you know that you have to pay them, you can't await invoice for more than 5 years or 3 years, or the case may be. Why is Nomvula not arrested? And then you tell us, hey, there is a big anti-corruption all times. Why is Cyril not arrested? Why is Cyril's son, if there is nothing implicating Cyril, why is Cyril's son not arrested? Because Agrizi and the books show that they benefited from Bosasa. South Africa, don't be fooled. These people are playing games with us. Cyril wants to create an impression that he's a corruption buster himself. Why is he not releasing the CR17 documents if he's fighting corruption? Let me tell you, Xoli, we can never fight corruption without knowing who are the funders of the president, so that we can check if these are not beneficiaries of PPEs. If this man who's given a public launch by the president without being BEE compliant, we need to know if this is not the man who donated the money to CR17. That's why they can even launch his project even when it's not BEE compliant. The president of South Africa is leading in corruption. For as long as he's not releasing CR17 funders and he keeps on objecting them in parliament, a man who won to be a president under the ticket of transparency and corruption-free South Africa, he's now defending.
All right. Mr. Malema, I want to talk about the cases that are before court now. And let's perhaps put Angelo Agrizi on the side, even though there is a senior member of the ANC, at least one of them, who is in court, and I'm talking about Vincent Smith.
What is seniority about you in the ANC? I was in the ANC. Seniority means a person who serves in the executive committees of the ANC, or a person who serves in the cabinet, or is a leading figure in legislatures and parliament. This guy is not even a former of any of those things. And then you call him a senior person. It's bluffing again to create an impression that senior people are being arrested when there is no single
Let me remind you. Let me remind you.
No, you can't remind me. Don't tell me what the chairperson of a land committee, a chairperson of Bosasa, that committee which...
I will remind you of a senior leader, or should we say former senior leader of the ANC, who's in jail right now, a whole leader of a party in the Northern Cape, John Block. He is in jail.
No, he's not in jail, he's at home.
How do you know that?
He was released with corona.
I want to talk about VBS. Philip Truta is now sitting in jail, convicted, having admitted to crimes that he committed alongside his fellow executives at VBS. Not even a statement from the EFF to congratulate law enforcement. Surely that's a positive.
Why should we do that?
Why not?
We're not interested in what this chap has to say. We only issue statements on matters that we're interested in. We're not told
but you're interested in corruption.
No. The
you got Zuma to pay
the
money.
VBS matter is receiving attention. The people are in court and the man has confessed, and the matter will be concluded very soon. So every time someone starts singing, we must release a statement. No, we have released statements about VBS and we're done with that matter. But one thing that you don't say, which you must be saying if you're neutral and objective journalism, which is something we dream about, is not there, you would be saying, fair enough to the EFF. The man does not even mention you anyway. Fair enough to the EFF, which has been...
I simply spoke about Philip.
No, I'm saying him, Philip.
Unless you're feeling that there's a question coming towards you. I've spoken about you.
Philip, the man who was at the center of this thing, makes concessions and confessions. He mentions no EFF leader. He mentions no EFF in those confessions. Who will say that?
I haven't caught
Why
sight
didn't
of those
you release a headline about that?
I haven't caught sight of
I didn't release a
confessions.
statement. Why is there no headline at the newsroom?
But you
that
tell me.
EFF is not implicated.
You tell
where
us.
we used to project it that it is involved in VBS. Let me tell you, me and you can die and wake up again and live to the same age and die again. There will not be a single EFF person arrested for VBS. If there was, well, you know how much these people were troubling them. Not only the government of the ANC, including the establishment. By now, they would have dealt with us, sent us to jail for a very long time. For sure, everybody who hates us in the corridors of power, in the establishment, always says, but why is the EFF leaders not being arrested on VBS? There will never be, because there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. You can write graphs and even change the colors of the same graphs and project them as the new graphs. You will never find leaders of the EFF in VBS.
Let's talk about the other wave of arrests that have occurred in the country in the recent past. And they, in part, have to do with the evidence that's coming out of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. The asbestos case, for example, is one key point or one key case to look at. Do you support the work of that commission?
Absolutely. They must arrest anyone who's involved. I had a problem with the manner in which Edwin was arrested. He must go to jail if he... You see, arrest for me, Xoli. I was arrested before. I'm arrested now for common assault and firearms in East London. For me, arrests do not necessarily mean you are guilty. It is another form of holding people accountable.
Yes.
Now, you cannot hold Xoli accountable with handcuffing him and all of that as if it's a common criminal. When the guy said, no, as if it's a flight risk. When a guy has been actually cooperative with the commission and with the police. Look at what they do. 4 white people come and arrest him here to humiliate him in a manner they did. Put him in a Golf, drive him to Bloemfontein. In the process, you saw that big guy who was in front seat in the Golf of Xoli. The guy is an eater. He has been eating Nando's and all those type of things from Bloemfontein to here, back to Bloemfontein with the state money. If they had asked Xoli to come to Bloemfontein, how much money would they have saved the state? Xoli has been going to the commission by himself. The state carries no financial obligations to send him to the commission. The man with the stolen money they allege would have driven to Bloemfontein, they arrest him, and they do all manner of things and save the state money. What happens? Sipongwema has come back there and is continuing with those things of scorpions, of a Hollywood style, and projecting people like they are criminals. Even when later on they are acquitted, they will still have that video on YouTube.
Let me ask you the question.
So that thing is wrong. Sipongwema's strategy is wrong.
Let me ask
and
you
it
the
must
question.
be confronted the same way it was confronted before Polokwane. Don't arrest people Hollywood style. Do it in a dignified manner. And at the end of the day, these people will go to jail. The long arm of the law will deal with it.
Let me ask you the question. Should South Africans care about the manner in which people who are accused of obscene crimes, because corruption has led to the people of the Free State who ought to have had their roofs, asbestos removed from their roofs, some of them dying, they're long dead as a result of corruption which prevented them from getting decent roofs. So why in the world should South Africans care about the manner in which people who are accused of such crimes be treated?
Be careful what you ask for. South Africans should be concerned about the Constitution. South Africans should be concerned about the rights of our people. South Africans should be concerned about the dignity of each individual, even if accused of obscene crimes. We should be concerned, because you know what's going to happen? The beating is coming. Ask for it. Agree, it's not you today. It's not your relative today that gets humiliated like that when they get arrested. What is going to come next is the beating. They're going to start beating them up, because at NewzRoom we said we shouldn't be concerned about how they get arrested. They are going to be beaten. After the beating, the killing is going to be followed. It starts very small. You must see it as it comes. They will tell you in South Africa. I say them before they happen, because how they start, I can be in a position to project that this is where it is going. People are going to be beaten. People are going to be killed. Because at the beginning, we said, why should we care? Care about the constitution, care about the rights, care about the dignity. These people are going to go to jail anyway. It doesn't matter how they get arrested, but defend their dignity. It's very important.
And Mr. Malema, I want to conclude the discussions around corruption as we taper down this conversation. Should the Deputy Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo, recuse himself from leading that commission at the request of former president? Or should I actually put it in the manner in which he's doing, which is basically is demanding it? Because if he doesn't do it, then he's going to possibly even go to court to try and have him recuse himself from that commission. Should Justice Zondo recuse himself?
No, for what? I don't know what are the powers. That is the man who must be chained. That one, who must go fetch from Mngambi. And he must come and answer here. Because Zuma engages in extremely stupid things. And he doesn't want to be held accountable. Zuma says to Maseko, go and see the Guptas and do whatever. When he goes to Zondo Commission, he answers in a very foolish way. And then he wants us to be sympathetic. There is nothing wrong with the president saying to Maseko, go and listen to these guys. We do that all the time as politicians. But the man tries to be clever, and when his stupidity is exposed, he wants to blame it on Zondo. He should have said, yes, it's my job. Even if you go to Pravin today, Pravin gets approached at the airport, gets approached wherever he goes, and they say, hey, Minister, I've got this type of proposal. No, that's fine. Talk to the DG, talk to this person, talk to that person. You are not saying to Maseko, give this guy a tender. If you don't give this guy a tender, I'm going to fire you. You make no threats. There are these people who say they offer these types of services. Please listen to them. We do that all the time. But Zuma tries to be clever. When he realizes that he didn't give the best of the best testimony in Zondo Commission, he starts attacking Zondo based on his stupidity. Zondo, I wrote a letter to him. I said to Zondo, treat people the same. Pravin said to you in the morning, without respect, nothing. He said, I'm in cabinet, I won't come today. Just like that. And Pravin was released to go to cabinet.
Yeah, but in fairness, Justice Zondo also submitted and actually was lenient to the former president when he said, I am sick and I'm actually seeking medical attention in Cuba.
Again, Xoli, you like striking similarities where there is no such. How can you say, I'm not going to court because I'm going to work? Cabinet is a work of Pravin. And then compare that with a man who says, I'm in hospital. It has never happened. Such an excuse is not accepted in any court or before any judge. Those who are in hospital and can produce medical certificate, it is always accepted by court. But to say to court, I won't come because I'm going to work, and you say to me there is a similarity. I'll talk to the bosses of NewzRoom when I finish.
Well, I didn't talk about similarities. Let's conclude this discussion around the Zondo Commission. If ever, for any reason, you are approached by that commission, would you respect and actually go and give whatever evidence is asked?
I will. I will not even go with a lawyer. I'll go alone. We fought for that commission. When Zuma tried to prevent it, remember, we are the one who went to court and said, this report must be released. When the report was released, we said it must be enforced and this commission must take place. But since we are talking corruption, right? All the scandals of corruption, all of them, not a single one has got an EFF. In Mutaung report, which is the report of VBS, by the way, there is no EFF or EFF leader. No, you can want to jump anyhow you want, because the rest, I can tell you, they are leaders, not their younger brothers or wives or children. They are themselves there. Their names are there. VBS, Zondo Commission, Prasa, any scandal that you know of corruption in South Africa, all corruption scandals in South Africa, I want to repeat, not a single one of that scandal involves the EFF or any of the EFF leaders, but were being projected as the most corrupt because the establishment doesn't like our politics. I'm saying, and I say this without any fear of contradiction, we are cruising nicely. So, we have no nightmares.
If you're cruising nicely,
let's go to Limpopo now,
let me ask
where there were scandals in Limpopo which almost involved us. Yeah. In Zondo Commission today, there is no scandal of Limpopo, right? Not Castle Matali's government, which we're told we collapsed and stole from it. It's not in the Zondo Commission.
Yeah.
But the Free State government, which was never dissolved, which was never put under administration, is the one that is swimming in Zondo Commission. Who's fooling who?
So, if you're cruising, as you say, Brian Shibambu, the brother of the deputy president of the EFF, how far is his case in trying to overturn or challenge the validity of claims made against him by the Mutau report?
You're asking me about boys. I'm too senior for that. Asking me about boys.
Yeah, but those are direct.
I've been talking
to you. That's a direct link.
No, there's no
direct link to the EFF. By the way, this is a person who was an EFF member himself, Brian Shibambu.
No, he's a boy. He can be a member, he's a boy. He's not a leader. You're not going to reduce me to that and be asking me about members. I've been dealing with you here about leaders. So you are taking me to a boy because it's a desperation of wanting to drag the EFF into some scandal.
Not at all.
There are a lot of boys of the ANC, small boys of the ANC and DA and all types of things that are involved in one or two types of things. You never drag them because they are boys.
Because you have raised the conversation.
No, there's no EFF leader. There is no EFF in any scandal. You can go on with that desperation of yours of dragging boys. Bring real people here. Let me deal with them. Don't tell me about boys.
So,
I'm saying to you now, and I want you to put it here now, the way you're putting it to me, give me any EFF leader who's involved in corruption, who not even found guilty, alleged. I'm giving you an example of Polokwane, where the NPA of Bato, your favorite, announced that it's going to charge Malema's people who are involved with Malema, but they can't charge Malema. Why? Because there's no such a thing. Every time they try use state institution to silence those they disagree with, I will never be silenced.
All right.
By these people. And they say no, they are direct benefits to Malema that come from VBS, which have not been declared in Parliament, right? Report that to Parliament and report that to the police. The same way Tony Ngeni did not declare his discount. If Malema got anything from VBS, take it to the police because he didn't declare it in Parliament. It's fraud. They won't do it because they know it's a lie. They just smear people they disagree with and leave you hanging there. They will never find you guilty. They will never convict you. They will never send you to jail. They politically assassinate you through a court of public opinion when they disagree with you politically.
Let's conclude this conversation, Mr. Malema, by going back to why we brought you here in the first place.
Sure.
And that's the issue of Senegal. There's an EFF leader today in newspapers who has been arrested and is out on bail. I'm talking about Portia Zolega Kotoi. She is a member of the provincial legislature
Absolutely.
in the Eastern Cape, involved in what essentially is mob justice. When you go to Senegal tomorrow,
Yeah.
and chaos breaks out, is that not going to be interpreted, or should that not be interpreted as mob justice? Does the EFF not have a problem with being involved in issues of possible mob justice?
We have a problem with mob justice because in South Africa there is law enforcement and there are institutions that are capable to deal with all those type of issues despite their witnesses. So no one should engage in mob justice. Xoli, we're not going to Senegal for mob justice. We're going there to defend democracy. We have not called for any mob action, nothing. Why do you have a problem with people who are exercising their democratic right protected by the Constitution? Because that will mean undermining of the Constitution. And let's tell you, that comrade in Eastern Cape who is alleged to be involved in mob justice and all those type of things will not be suspended by the EFF. The police have arrested her, and she's going through court. We have confidence in the judicial system of South Africa. We require no extra issues to deal with that matter. It is in capable hands. It will be resolved there.
All right. Mr. Malema, let me thank you very much for making the time to speak to us here.
Welcome to News Africa, NewzRoom Africa, Baba. Congratulations. I hope that you're going to give this station a nice, television. We wish you all the best. You have been involved. We grew up together, actually. When we started, when you started, we were very young in politics, and look at where we are now. And it's always nice to see one of our own making inroads. So we hope that you'll make this television more exciting and more attractive, particularly for our black people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And let this not be the last time we speak to you here on NewzRoom Africa. Julius Malema, leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters. Let's take a short breather, and we'll be back with the day's top stories.